Welcome to episode 45 of 45. Bitch I Ain't Scared. 45. I can count. Yes. Yep, we are back, and we're better than ever.
Are we? Yeah, I think so.
Sure,
yeah,
why not?
We're always better, yeah.
Nate the Fool here.
Rob the Scholar here, and we're talking about some international horror movies, some foreign films that are... I don't know. Do you think that this genre is better at this than the U.S.?
No.
No?
They're different.
They're just different?
Yeah.
Okay.
But before we do that, did you see that trailer that I shared on our page? It was like a fan-made trailer.
I did not watch it all the way through.
No?
I may have. Please remind me what it is.
Nightmare. Return to Elm Street.
No,
I didn't see that?
The last video I saw was when you posted that, or I don't know if it was, yes, it was on our page. You posted the Every Day is a Horror Film.
Right.
I watched that one, but I didn't see that trailer.
I thought I shared it to our page. If not, I'll have to check. My sister shared it, and she was like, I'm going to see this. And I was like,
this is
what? Let me investigate this. And I was like, this is not a full-length movie. But it was cool, nonetheless. Gotta support creativity, and I could see someone like looking at this and being inspired to make a full-length feature. But yeah, it's a Nightmare on Elm Street fan film, and it's a short that's cut together to look like a trailer for an upcoming movie. And I don't know, it was fun. It's they got a brother in the lead, so that never happens. But I thought
Look
it was...
Look at that. You even addressed this to me, too. I don't know why I didn't get the... Oh, I think I know why I didn't get the notification. So I have two accounts.
Oh.
And when you post stuff, I'm on my other one at the moment. So unless you would have tagged me, I probably wouldn't have gotten the notification.
Yeah, I never think to tag that.
Oh, it's okay. Well, I'm looking at this without the sound, and I'm like super impressed.
Yeah. They went to great lengths. There's like... it's on IMDb as a short film. It's 3 minutes long, and there's behind-the-scenes photos. Freddy is in full makeup. It was a full production, so I don't know what they're trying to do with it, if they are trying to get a full feature made, I'm really, tired all the time. I'm just like, we don't need any more nightmares or Halloweens, let's wrap this shit up. But... after seeing this, it's sort of like a Star Wars fan film. I'm like, I appreciate it. So whatever they're trying to do, best of luck. Or maybe they just wanted to make a short fan film and be like, hey, we don't actually want to make this, but we're trying to make other shit. So help us
good.
out. Yeah.
Oh, this is cool. I like when people put a bunch of effort into stuff like this, even if they know it probably won't go anywhere. Obviously it's getting it's getting
some traction. People are seeing it. So.
But they're not getting paid for it, and they're just having fun doing what they like to do.
They might get paid for it. Not for this specific thing, but somebody might hire them. Somebody might be impressed with the editing, cinematography, the actors who are doing their thing. So we shall see. But I thought it was cool.
Yeah. No, that's nice. I'll watch it after the show and comment on it. So yeah, it looked good.
Awesome. Well, as far as international horror, I am a novice.
You are nice.
I have seen not that many. I've seen a few of the J-horror remakes. And I don't hate them. I kind of hated The Ring, though. And I think I hated The Ring because everyone hyped it up so much, and they said it was so scary. And then I went to the movies, and I just kind of was, waiting for something to happen. And then that bitch came out the TV, and I don't know. I didn't appreciate it.
I didn't live up to... Well, I didn't live up to it, but I didn't believe in the hype that everybody was saying this is the scariest shit we've seen in a while. Mm-hmm. And just the idea of having somebody come out of your TV... I watch more TV than anyone. And you would think that would be an internal fear of mine, that I didn't want somebody coming out of the TV wanting to murder me. That meant nothing to me. I don't know why... The very first time I watched it, I just didn't appeal to me, and I think I was still annoyed with that little boy, because he was just dude, if you're not evil by the end of this movie, then what were you doing this whole time?
Yeah.
I could not deal with you, this throughout the film. And so, like, he was just like, you weren't supposed to do that. And I'm like, oh. But then she comes out of TV, and I'm like, okay, yeah, she came out of a TV. I've seen worse. I've seen a whole lot worse. But there was this big thing about this woman coming out of the TV, and I just was like... Okay.
I mean, I didn't know she was going to. And they even hint at it halfway through when she takes the fly off the screen.
Yeah. Which
was cool, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else building up to it was like, okay, she's in the closet. Oh, God. You know, that was probably the scariest moment of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And I liked The Grudge. But again, The Grudge, the original director, I don't know. That's dedication. When you're like, I already made 3 films in Japan, but you know what? Sure. I'll help you out, America, and I'll reshoot my shit.
Yeah.
Because I don't want y'all to fuck it up. So that's probably the difference, and I liked The Grudge. I screamed out loud.
Grudge was cool. It had some relevant actors for its time in that movie. And, you know, I thought Sarah held her own in that, too. Have we seen her in other horror movies? Well, besides Scream 2, was there anything else she did?
Yeah, silly.
Which one?
Your favorite.
My favorite?
I know what you did last summer.
Oh, duh. Yeah. Totally forgot about that one for the moment. Okay.
I mean, those are pretty much it.
But anything preceding that, like, was that it for her?
After The Grudge, I mean, and then she did the sequel and Splat, but I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't think she did any horror movies after that.
Okay.
And she's been keeping it low key since she had a kid, so who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah.
What about The Eye? Did you watch The Eye?
I actually liked The Eye. I know everyone hated it, but I didn't hate it.
I just don't walk away from any memory of the movie after it was done. It was just like, okay.
I didn't see the original either, and I think it was definitely like one of those first shot-for-shot deals. Like, very close to the original. So, anytime that happens, that's annoying. And I don't know how close it was to the original as far as, like... it must have been exactly the same. Like,
I haven't seen the original.
She gets eyes from a dead girl, and then she starts to see what she sees, or something like that. Yeah, she like has... I mean, she sees the girl in the mirror.
Yeah.
She doesn't know that that's not how she looks, which I thought that was pretty cool. She's like, who's that girl in the picture?
Yeah.
It's you. What? Yeah. So, I don't know, I didn't hate it, but again, I'm sure the original was fantastic.
I remember The Grudge and Ringu being, I'm sorry, I should say Ju-on, but I remember those being scary. I don't have too big of a memory of them because I only saw them the one time, but I remember those being more entertaining than the US remakes. And I don't know, there's something about the way that they film their horror movies in Japan. I don't know. It's either the lack of music, or it's just the imagery, or maybe it's just the actors. Maybe they are just asked to do more than they're really supposed to, especially what we're used to here. I see them doing so many different like pan shots and just different angles of things that just comes off looking good. And they don't even have to go like super heavy on their makeup.
Yeah.
And they still make them look pretty authentic and scary. And I don't know, maybe just because I'm from here and it's just like I know movies in Hollywood are fake and I don't know what goes on over there, so it's just like when I see stuff it's just like, damn.
Well, it's interesting thinking about different countries. Like, I feel like England doesn't have a lot of, or the UK, they don't have a lot of like really super violent horror films. I don't think. I think a lot of what comes from the UK are ghost stories, and they do a lot of period piece ghost stories, like The Woman in Black, and what was the one with Rebecca? What's her name? Oh, I can't think of it. I can't think of what it's called. It was a good movie. Do you know the actress I'm talking? I think her name is Rebecca Black.
Oh, well,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
She's like, she goes to debunk mediums and different stuff, and it's like 18th century England.
Oh.
And she goes to what used to be... I don't remember.
Why am I not remembering?
I can't remember the name of the...
Well, there was a movie called The Reaping, but that was...
No, not that.
Because she did the same thing in that movie.
Yeah,
she was debunking
but no, it wasn't
miracles.
that. It was definitely like very specific like 1890 or something. But yeah, that's usually what I see from England. They don't produce a lot of like slasher films or anything like that.
I don't know why I looked up Rebecca Black. Do you know who Rebecca Black is?
Oh no,
she's the Friday
singer,
chick. Yeah,
messed up.
Are you thinking about Karen Black?
No. Her name is Rebecca something. She's a British actress. She has long brown hair. I know that could be anybody.
I know. No,
I can't think of. Oh, she was in Iron Man 3.
Okay. Iron Man 3.
She was like.
Look that up.
She was kind of like a villain, kind of.
Oh, Rebecca Hall.
Okay. Yeah. So, and it was like, I don't remember what it was called.
We're looking it up.
The something, I think.
The something
starts with an A, maybe.
Okay. Oh, she was in The Gift. I know her. Oh God, she was in Transcendence. Ugh.
The Gift. I don't know, but
The Awakening.
The Awakening. Okay. I knew it started with an A. Look at me.
No, The Gift with Jason Bateman.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you never saw that? Oh, you got to watch that.
I'll watch it later.
Okay.
But yeah, and then you think about Australia, and they don't hold back. But their shit is pretty much. I feel like a lot of their stuff is based more in reality. It's usually people terrorizing each other. The Babadook is the one exception, at least very recently, and that shit was scary as fuck.
Well, I think, what did they do? Didn't Australia do Wolf Creek?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's their most popular one.
Yeah.
Did you like it? I didn't really care for Wolf Creek.
But, and also, what was the other one? The one about the girl who wanted the prom date, and then they drill something into his head. You told me about it.
Oh, yes, The Loved Ones.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's like, I feel like they do a lot of shit like that. It's like, it's super violent, but it's always people. And then, any sort of like horror coming out of Korea, it's like, it's super violent too, but it's also like really strange concepts. Train to Busan is like an exception where it's a very like human story. But what's the one? I think it's from Korea. The dumplings. You never?
No,
I didn't watch it, but it's like I think it's kind of similar to Sweeney Todd. I might be wrong, but
2004 in Hong Kong.
Oh, I'm wrong. China.
Okay, China.
My bad.
So Aunt May is a cook famous for her homemade rejuvenation dumplings. Oh God!
But there's something up
based
with the dumplings.
I can't think of this word. Based on a recipe prepared with a mysterious ingredient that she brings directly from China.
I don't know. There was something like really weird about the dumplings.
Do I need to watch
I think you should probably watch it, or...
It sounds cool. Yeah.
The Audition. I don't know which country that's from, and since I just fucked that up,
you're not
going
to
to
say it,
because
right?
I'm already like a dick.
I know.
But yeah, The Audition, that movie was fucked up.
See, that one I have not seen yet.
But I haven't seen it either. I know about these movies, but I haven't seen it. I just know that...
So that was also Japan.
It's like very...
I heard that movie's messed up. Now, I mean, obviously, remember the 100 Scariest Moments Ever that they did on AMC, that special they did every year?
Yes, so I haven't seen it.
They would always have that scene on there as one of their scariest, and so I am aware of her being very villainous, and then like there's something with the bag. That's all I know. I don't know the circumstances with it, but I mean it's kind of spoiled for me. But I still want to watch it.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say like and I'm sure a lot of people are like it's just so much better watching the international market. I feel like there's plenty of great American horror films, and there's plenty of great horror films in general that come from all around the world. We wouldn't have Godzilla without Japan.
Exactly.
Yes, America has made some bastardized versions of it, but that's where Godzilla comes from. And so I personally would not say one is better than the other. They just have different things to offer.
Yeah.
And remakes, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. I think that simply remaking something just to put a blonde person in place of a Japanese or Korean actor so that we can relate more is bullshit. So I don't appreciate that. But, every time Broadway has a new revival of Grease or West Side Story, we see new actors. We see a different take on this story. So sometimes you do that and it's cool. Or a story was told originally and it just wasn't appreciated. But in the case of the international film market, I don't feel like any other genre is remade for American audiences. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I've never seen a Japanese love story remade for... Oh, no, wait. I just thought of one. Shall We Dance? That movie that came out in, like, the 90s.
I know what you're talking about.
But still, like, that doesn't happen often.
No, not really.
Or, I don't know, children's films, they're not remade.
I want to hear what you thought of Annihilation.
I didn't get to watch it. It wouldn't play.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
What theater did you go to? You're hilarious. Okay.
Don't talk about me.
No,
it wasn't me. Okay, that's just...
That's
well, we were going to go to the movies, but then he was like, oh. I was like, okay, that's okay. We can just stay home. And he, he likes to watch stuff on his computer.
Okay.
But, it would not play for some reason. So... That being said, this is basically all the knowledge I have to offer on international horror. That is why you've brought in a specialist of sorts, correct?
Yes. So I have a friend of mine who really enjoys international and foreign films, especially the horror genre. And I thought it'd be cool to have him come on and share a lot of recommendations and some of his favorites. He has already sent a couple of movies down to me to watch, and I've checked out one or two, but like some of these I've never heard of. They're not in popular mainstream, even for the US. So like he obviously, I guess, knows his shit. So yeah, so this second part of the show will bring him in and talk to him and see, what he's got under his belt and awesome. See which ones sound good.
Well, without further ado, let's get into it.
All right, well, welcome, Tino, to the show. It's good to have you on here. How are you today?
Good. Thank you for having me on, Rob.
Of course. So with every guest, we ask, are you a fan of the horror genre?
I'm like, no. Yes, I'm totally a fan. Ever since I was a kid. My mom actually got me into horror.
Okay.
She's the one, she told me about Nightmare on Elm Street. She was like, yep, there's a killer, there's a slasher film with a guy that comes and gets you in your dreams, and she's like, and I was like, I want to see that, Mom. And she's like, well, let's go to Blockbuster and get it. And it was actually the day my friend Edward came over for a sleepover. Mm-hmm. So it was me and my friend Edward, pizza, and just watching Nightmare on Elm Street with my mom.
Very cool. I mean, Nightmare was mine, but it wasn't my parents who introduced me to it. So why do you think she didn't have like a big deal about you watching horror when you were younger?
I think because I think it was just kind of that lax. Her parents were very lax with her too. They weren't very like, you can't watch this, you can't do this. So, and, my mom had me when she was in her 30s. So I think she wasn't like that new mom with new mom jitter. She was very, she had some life experience, and she's like, my son, there's nothing wrong with my son seeing a slasher film, nothing that's going to do any like permanent outward damage.
And I guess you accepted the movie. I guess you didn't have like nightmares or anything, I guess, so you
Nope. I think the only time, and I would like to know this about you, it's like, I think the only time I'd ever been truly afraid, like shivering afraid, is when I had a fever and the Black Dahlia movie came out.
Okay.
So I wanted to go online and see the originals. Was a very bad idea, because that night I broke out in a fever, and I was convinced that if I like turned around, I was just going to see her face. And I think that was probably like one of the first times where I was just trembling with fear. But I've never really had that with a horror movie.
That's funny. Was that your question to me, if that happened to me? Well, yeah, I mean, I watched Freddy. That didn't faze me. I would watch all the Tales from the Crypt episodes, but Creepshow, because I woke up in the middle of the night, and I don't even know if this scenario happened before or after Nightmare on Elm Street, but I woke up in the middle of the night, and I usually sleep with the TV on, so the TV was on, and that movie was on, and it was the
The Hitchhiker.
No, not the Hitchhiker.
Not the Hitchhiker?
No, that's part 2. That's part 2. And I told you about the Hitchhiker.
Yeah.
But no, this is the first one. And it was I forget the name of the story, but it was the ones with the seaweed people with Ted Danson.
Okay.
So it was just that whole creepy factor of the fog coming in and him being creeped out, and that music, and them slowly getting to him. And there was an ottoman next to my bed, and the remote was there. So I couldn't turn off the TV. And I didn't want to reach for the remote because there was this huge space in between.
Oh my God.
So I had to sit there and watch it because it was loud and I couldn't go back to sleep. And that got me quite a bit. And but other than that, I was never really restricted on what I watched on TV either. I just knew better.
Yeah. I think I would even say my parents are responsible for my love of Quentin Tarantino movies because they took me with them when they went to go see Reservoir Dogs.
Oh, okay.
And the one scene I remember vividly was I forgot the name of the actor, but when he's dancing to that song and he slices the guy's ear off.
Ooh.
Yeah,
okay.
I just remember the music, and it was just very upbeat, very Hawaiian-y type of music, and him just dancing. And he's like, "How about a little fire, Scarecrow?" And it's just it was just very haunting for a little kid. And my parents also took me with them when they went to go see Showgirls.
Oh,
and there are a lot of scenes in that movie that stuck with me as a child.
So, Tino, do you happen to have a favorite out of all the horror that you watch? What is, I guess, one of your favorites, maybe?
It's a toughie, but I think I would probably go with, and it's more of a horror comedy, but Idle Hands.
Really?
Yes.
I tried to show that movie to a Halloween party in my mid-20s.
Oh.
And that did not deliver well. Nobody was feeling this movie at all. We were just going to watch movies all night, and there was this one guy who was verbal about everything he saw within the first 20 minutes.
Wow.
And I was like, this movie's not getting received very well. We have to change it. But I remember Idle Hands. Idle Hands is good.
It's hilarious.
Okay, horror comedies count too. So.
Yeah.
All right. So I wanted you to come on because you have a very big interest and library of this genre. And what is it about foreign horror films that you like the most?
I mean, probably the obvious answer would be because they're different from American horror films in their themes and a lot of the storytelling and what they want to hit on. Japanese cinema, for example, their religion is Buddhist. They're not Christian. They believe in spirituality. They're to them the soul lives on as a spirit. And kind of with The Grudge, if you should happen to piss somebody off, they are going to come back. And that, I think, too, because the United States is a melting pot of cultures. So to kind of see a type of film with such a strong, religious ground. Mm-hmm. And also just the imagery is just so different. So I think Samara and Kyago from The Ring and The Grudge, that whole, white face with the hair was just such a stark image that, even to this day, you still see dozens of people imitating that look.
Yeah.
Just a lot of the things that they touch on.
So would you say that Japan is pretty much the most international horror that you watch?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say, but it's changed. I think also with because Japanese cinema isn't what it used to be. I think because we've had so much of it, and because of that Samara and Kyago image has been bastardized so much by Americanization. I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with this? Where was I going with this? Rewind. What was your question?
You had said because you watch this particular country and their horror movies so much, but yet it's not as good or original as it used to be.
Yeah. I think with American films, it's especially when I watched it since I was a kid, it can kind of get, you can only see so many slasher films. And I think growing up in like the 90s, which that's what a lot of the films that were coming out, they were all slashers.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I got older that I started to kind of delve back into the 80s and got into like the Italian cinema and giallo films, slashers, kind of like different haunted house type of films. And kind of when I started to be more like cognizant of horror movies, and they're not just entertainment, it's a lot of these different parts that make up this whole. And when Japanese kind of came out in the States, which was 2000s, I was like already going into high school. So that's when I started becoming really interested in like just, I guess, the surface level of film, and started to dive deeper and to see a lot of Japanese directors. Like one of the things I could think of that separate Asian from American is that Japanese people, they're into very like ambiguous endings, whereas America, here in the States, the bad guy's always going to lose in the end.
We need
the final girl,
beginning, middle, and end.
Whereas Japanese, they're not afraid to kind of just end on a cliffhanger. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, usually people when they think of international horror films, they usually think of Japan or China or movies with foreign films, but a lot of people forget that we have other countries overseas who make horror films, and like the French make them, Italian, as you said, make wonderful horror films, and the UK makes a ton of them. Australia is a really good country that comes out with them. In South Korea, I'm starting to pay more attention to them right now. So what would, aside from the Japan horror that you watched, can you think of other countries that you've sort of gravitated to?
I think probably French, because I think in the middle of the 2000s, we got that wave of like French extreme horror. So like Martyrs, what was the other one? What was I forgot the High Tension, Inside, Martyrs. I can't think of any more.
So I just found out that Inside was a French film. I had no idea.
Really?
The only one is that the original? So, because when people are like, you need to watch Inside, they're talking about the French film, right? There's no American version.
I know
there will be soon, but
they are making one.
That's the one that they're referring to. I had no idea it was a foreign film.
Oh, yeah.
And I still need to see this movie. I can't find it anywhere.
Really?
Like, you have to, like, well, I mean, aside from ordering it on Amazon, like, I can't find it, so I just never saw it. But
yeah, I got it. I rented it from Blockbuster.
Okay, so that's French. I didn't know that. Well, awesome. What would you say is, like, Japanese horror, like you said that you watch that the most. Is it just because of the culture, or they just have better stories than other countries?
I think it's the culture. I mean, I'm also a huge anime fan, so I think Japanese just in general intrigued me. So when I stumbled upon their horror films, I was just like, what is this? And I must see more of it. I mean, when The Ring and the Grudge remakes came out, and I found out, these are based off of Japanese films. And I remember Hollywood Video had Ju-on when the Grudge was still in theaters, and I remember getting confused because I was like, this is out on DVD? How? It's still in the theaters. And I rented it, and I was like, this doesn't have Sarah Michelle Gellar in it.
Yeah. I did see the US versions first, in particular with The Grudge, and I did make a point to go back and watch the originals, and there was something about, I guess, the way that they filmed it, like their camera angles and just the makeup for one, visually, it just looked a lot more terrifying and realistic, put it that way. And nothing wrong with the US versions. I mean, a movie's a movie. You either like it or you don't. But if you're going to compare, something about Japanese horror in particular, like the way that they have their shots, like some of their scare tactics, they're just so different. Yeah. And the other thing is, and this goes with all horror films, like from overseas, is they're usually rated R.
Yeah.
We went through a big transformation to where all of these movies that needed to be remade needed to appeal to
everyone,
a more general audience, meaning we had to bring down. So here's what annoys me. I actually don't mind that you're gonna make a US version of a particular movie.
Yeah.
My thing is that if you need to make it PG-13, look at the difference between their rating system versus ours.
Yeah.
Like PG-13 is crap now.
Yeah.
And like we had sharks eating kids and that shit was PG. So it's like clearly you've lowered the standards of what you find inappropriate, and then on top of that you want to take a rated R movie and think you can do better.
Yeah.
With a PG-13 rating. It makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
And I think that just ruined the credibility of remakes done by the US.
Yeah.
It's so sad that but that's the thing, that we've obviously seen successful movies that have a PG-13 rating.
Yeah.
But you're taking material that kind of needs that rated R in order to tell a good story and bring out the scares, and they just can't produce that.
Yeah.
And it's just annoying. So, like, the US Ring, I didn't like at all. If you ever asked me, let's watch The Ring, I'd be like, well, we're watching Ringu today. I'm not going to rewatch the US version. And because it's just scarier in the other one. And, I think when we went through that whole, like, phase, it just got super annoying. And do you think it's gotten better?
Well, because I don't think. Well, for one, they're not really remaking a lot of Japanese.
Well, not Japanese, films, but just in general, like. And
then actual like remakes of other films. I'm trying to even think what was like the last remake I've seen. Because I feel like we're not making. I feel like the remake, when it comes to foreign films being remade, I feel like that's more heading towards a lot of DVDs, like straight to kind of do your video on demand.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we're kind of delving back into the let's remake films from the 80s.
Yeah.
Like the Halloween, like, well, it's not really a remake of Halloween, but they're kind of like delving back into the Halloween coming this October, which I am excited for. But like you said, earlier you said that they're remaking Inside, but I don't know, is that going to get a theatrical release or is that just a video on demand?
It's video on demand.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
It's video on demand. So what is your opinion on these US remakes being made with American actors?
I don't mind it. Cause I kind of feel like remaking a foreign film, that's tough enough because you're kind of dealing with not everything, like religion and kind of social issues that are, especially films that kind of delve into that, aren't really going to relate because, we're not on the same page. Everyone's different. So that's kind of hard on itself to kind of remake. But with actors, I mean, I think it's possible. I mean, I think Quarantine was a pretty good remake.
Okay. Yeah. Quarantine from Rec, and Rec I love.
Yeah.
And Quarantine, there's nothing wrong with that, but the reason why is because they pretty much did a shot-for-shot playback of the original, and kudos to
I think that's
the
playing
original
it safe.
movie. Yeah, and that's the thing that kind of sucks. I didn't see the original when I saw Quarantine, and I had heard that the ending or the explanation of the virus was different, so I decided to watch Rec to see what the difference was, and I was just fascinated on how good it was, but then at the same time I was like, this is the exact same movie. What the deuce? So I don't know, the thing with me when it comes to using American actors, like, I get the appeal and I understand from a business standpoint, but there are just some movies that you really shouldn't do, because I think sometimes when it comes to the entity or the culture, like, we were lucky to get Grudge to even be on location in Japan, but like that whole thing was from a Japan culture, I'm assuming,
and also
right?
to the director. The original director also directed the U.S. remake.
Yeah, and I'm sure for good reason, but it's like, there are just some movies that I think you can't just normalize in the U.S. unless it has something to do with that country. So I guess they kind of met halfway. And then some of them you don't necessarily need it, but at the same time, I think with the high volume of Asian actors that we have in the U.S., there's no reason to cast them with, you know,
I mean,
white
it's kind of like that Ghost in the Shell argument.
Yeah, don't even. Okay. What was your thoughts on Death Note?
Death Note, you already know my thoughts, and I loved it, and I still stand by it.
Okay. Did you find it?
As for kind of like it kind of being like they should have chosen Asian actors. I'm not. See, the thing is with Death Note, I feel like Japanese culture isn't a big part of the Death Note story.
But it originated from a manga, though, right?
Yeah, it is. But I also think because what it deals with, it's more like of a detective story. It's very like CSI, very like it feels like almost like a New York noir kind of thing. I kind of feel like because that a lot of that is more Western type of thinking, I feel like that made it easier to adapt, even though they didn't really touch upon the kind of detective aspect.
But the thing, the demon aspect of it and where the book comes from is not U.S. origin, so it's like.
But it's also not Japanese.
It's not Japanese.
No, it isn't.
Okay.
Yeah, like even some of the demons, if you read the manga, they have like Native American motifs.
Okay.
They kind of pull from different cultures. And the realm that they're in is just like a pitch black, almost purgatory-esque area.
Okay.
So that's why I'm like, they don't really pull. I feel like Death Note was probably a good choice because there isn't a lot of Japanese culture kind of stitched into the story. You can kind of adapt it to be like a New York or American or kind of any kind of thing.
What was it about the Netflix original movie that you found better than the original?
Well, I don't know if this is like a good excuse for why I liked it, but
it's your excuse. No, but that's why I asked. I mean,
I liked it because this is how I kind of like internalize it. Is I kind of like the fact that Mika was more of a light-esque character because I kind of feel like she was like the brains of the kind of background.
Mention that. Oh God, I can't with that.
Yeah, I delved deep into it.
It's not because the original was different. I didn't mind the twist of her being the mastermind, but again, I just feel that this story, for as long as it's been out, has been this one-on-one between Light and L, and Mika being this mastermind. She should have been the lead then.
Yeah.
I don't need her to be a supporting character and have it be her. That was my issue.
Yeah.
And if they were just going to go, they should have done it full circle and had her be the protagonist and have it seen through her eyes. She should have been given the Death Note. He should have been the boy toy. Like, I just don't like that we still focused on Light's character and yet he was just not. So that's my gripe about it. But okay.
I think maybe if they would have went Mika as like the main character, I kind of feel like that would have pissed off fans too many. So I kind of feel like I look at it as I feel like Mika was the main character. I kind of feel like they like gender swapped it. But I feel like if they would have been very like obvious about her being like the Light character, I think fans would have just been pissed. But I mean, they were pissed already. You're Americanizing Death Note, one of the most popular anime out there. I mean, that's the anime that gets non-anime fans. Okay. So I think anyone was going to be pissed no matter what you did no matter what you did. I feel like they could have made it with Japanese actors and people still would have been pissed.
We'll never know because nobody takes that risk, but that's a different conversation. Do you know of any other successful U.S. remakes that came from international horror films?
I thought of another one besides Quarantine. I was listing them out, and I haven't seen the original though. But Funny Games.
Oh, okay. Funny Games was pretty good.
Yeah, and I know that one also. And I'm thinking because the director that did the original also did the remake, and I've also heard that the original is basically a shot for shot.
It is a very shot for shot thing, and I remember watching Funny Games, and it just was so frustrating because there was just no hope for these people.
You got into it.
And it just, I didn't expect everyone to live happy ever after, but there was just no middle ground. There was no challenge or fight. It was literally 2 hours of these two just going
even when the
crazy.
Tables turn.
I know, yeah, that just, I was like, why are you doing this?
That was
okay.
wow.
Okay. No, that's a really good example. Is there any others that you wanted to highlight that you think they did right?
I don't know, because all I could just think of are the bad ones.
Okay. Well, no, I mean, that was going to be my next question. Name some bad ones that you think they did horrible at.
Probably The Uninvited, which was the remake of A Tale of Two Sisters.
Yeah, I talked about this in the other episode, and it's just just blasphemy.
I feel like was them trying to Americanize a Japanese or Korean story. I'm trying to think of A Tale of Two Sisters. Japanese or Korean? It's Korean.
Korean.
Yeah.
We will look it up and see. That was one of the things I was worried to do with this episode is that we'll probably just be saying the wrong origins of all these films and just be stupid.
No, I think Tale of Two Sisters is Korean.
Let's see. No, we are going to find out. 2003. This is Korean. Yes, South Korean. See, and I keep noticing more. So I'll go back and I'll be like, oh, I really like this movie, and then I'll look up the origin. It's from South Korea. They're doing so well. Yeah. I just like their storytelling. It's so crazy. Train to Busan is another one that I'm obsessed with right now.
Yeah.
Which is getting a remake,
a
U.S. remake. So we'll see what they do with that.
I don't know. I feel like I hope this isn't the beginning of bringing birthing life back into the zombie genre.
The only thing that I would like to see from a remake of Train to Busan is to keep that emotional tie-in.
Oh, okay.
Now, I'm sure that the zombies are going to look different. Don't use CGI. For the love of Christ, do not use CGI because Train to Busan did not. And if I see one bit of it, I'm going to be angry. So
Hollywood
angry.
Doesn't believe in practical effects.
Apparently. So what are some other bad ones do you think they made a mistake with, if you can think of any?
Shudder?
Here's the thing with Shudder. I can't really debate with you on this because I didn't see the original. You saw the original?
Yes. And the funny thing is that Shudder, it takes place in Japan, but Shudder, I think, is a Thai film.
Oh, okay.
So they made it Japanese because The Ring, The Grudge came out and Japan was kind of the hot country.
That is interesting.
So, yeah.
I love the story of Shudder. And was there a huge difference between the two?
No.
There wasn't?
No.
So did it end the same way? Because I love that ending so much. It ends
exactly the same way.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I was thinking about watching that one one day, but okay. Very good. Why don't you give us some recommendations? What are some of your favorite foreign horror films?
I can also go beyond Japanese, right?
Yeah, no,
cool.
please, no. That's the whole point of this episode is that I wanted to highlight every country. One of my favorites is Dead Snow.
Oh, okay.
That's Norway.
Oh.
And I freaking love that movie. It's hilarious. And it's different. Well, it's a little different from, the zombie movies that we've seen. Yeah. But that movie, they just had so much fun. And they took a typical story and just made it super entertaining. Okay. And hopefully it reached cult classic status because it's so far left from all the other zombie films that I've seen lately. But no, go beyond.
Okay. Well, since you mentioned zombie films, there is a Japanese movie called Stacy that kind of puts an interesting twist on the zombie genre, where this zombie virus only attacks girls and it only zombifies them when their hormones reach a certain level. So when the women are walking down the street and they happen to see a handsome man and they kind of get flustered and embarrassed, this is kind of when they go zombie and start killing everybody.
Interesting. Now, there is a similar movie from the UK that kind of did the same thing. I don't know exactly what caused it, but it was called Doghouse.
Oh, okay.
So these men, group of men, they're all friends. They go to some village or whatever to just kind of like hang out because one of them got a divorce, and apparently only the women are infected, and so the term doghouse, I haven't seen it. I think it's also a horror comedy as well, but yeah, it was sort of the same thing where only the women were affected by this and the men were getting attacked.
And then if you're like into kind of like that Roger Corman kind of like slapstick, a lot of Japanese, because Japanese kind of have their traditional ghost stories, but then they kind of delve into that over the top slapstick, and those are a lot of the Japanese films I watched like towards the middle of the 2000s when like Korean and all those and like Thailand and those films started to come out. Japan kind of came back to the scene with a genre called splatter films, which are very like over the top, tons of blood, practical effects. There's an interesting one called Tokyo Gore Police, where a scientist creates this kind of what are they called? Like a parasite that is made from the DNA of all the serial killers. So like Manson, Hitler. So he took all of these serial killers' DNA, created a parasite, and implanted into people, and they kind of grow like limbs that are weapons.
Oh, okay.
And they have this police force that are tasked to deal with these. The creatures are called engineers. So I think the police force are called engineers, and their task is to kind of take out these kind of like monster people.
Okay.
That just wreak havoc.
That's interesting. No, I've never heard of this movie.
It's pretty good.
Okay. Is there any other ones that you would recommend that everyone should watch? I will leave Japan and I'm going to go to Poland because there's actually a cool film called The Lure. Have you heard of it? No. It's a horror musical. Okay. And the soundtrack is amazing. I want to buy it so bad. It's on my Spotify and I listen to it all the time. It's like a Polish retelling of The Little Mermaid. It's about these two girls that swim ashore and they see this family and you think they're going to eat them, and it turns out that they end up making a bargain with this family where if they kind of take them in and teach them the way of the land, that they'll help them. And this family happens to be a cabaret group. So they kind of use the girls who are also talented singers and put them in their cabaret show. And and they have, what's really cool is instead of having like that kind of like two fin, kind of like Ariel type tail, they have more like a eel, where it's just one like singular, like spear type tail. Okay. Interesting. I'm writing these down, trust me, because I've been wanting to get some recommendations. Did you ever hear of a movie called Sigaw? Sigaw. This is Philippines. Oh, no. So I've never seen it either, but apparently they made a U.S. version called The Echo with Jesse Bradford. What? I know. It was like, when did he get into this horror sort of genre? And so I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the poster. So basically, he moves into this apartment building where he's hearing some domestic violence like next door. And when he finds out what's going on next door, like it has like this ghostly sort of twist to it, I think. But the apartment building, or just that building, or that building in itself or the apartment, excuse me, there's just something going on. But he apparently was in this movie, and it's a remake of a Philippines movie, and it's called The Echo. So you've never heard of this? So that's definitely something on my list that I want to check out. I love that they bring The Ring and The Grudge in the poster. Exactly, just reminding you. But yeah, like you said earlier, I thought Martyrs was really interesting. I didn't watch the U.S. version, but that French version just freaked the hell out of me. I'm like, what's going on in this movie? Yeah. I remember being very upset. Yeah. Because I'm like, that poor girl. Did you understand sort of the ending and like how it was all explained and
Not
their purpose?
really, because I feel like I seen it when it came out, which I feel like it came out maybe like 2007.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I would need to rewatch it again,
Yeah.
but I mean the term is taken pretty literal. I mean they're using her to, I guess, bring out the most gruesome and asinine pain that you can think of for a human being. And I think going to that place, like, it brings out...
Is it like a religious?
Yeah, I want to say some kind of religious thing. I can't remember.
I'm like...
but it was needed for her to literally go to the edge of physical pain. And yeah, that was a really good one.
I think that's one of the things that French filmmakers have with Japanese, where it's like they go for that more philosophical, you really have to think this one over. We're not going to give it to you all nicely wrapped.
What was your take on Wolf Creek?
Wolf Creek?
Do you remember seeing that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
That one was gruesome. Mm-hmm. Just, I kind of feel like that film reminded me of like Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses, where it's like, I did not expect the heroes of the film to go through so much and then to basically not make it.
Yeah. That movie got a really huge following. I don't know, for some reason I didn't find the attacker to be so not necessarily threatened, but I wasn't scared by him.
Yeah.
He was just some crazy kook who just was killing folks with a bow and arrow. I don't know, for some reason I didn't find him to be... I don't even know if he's reached iconic status, but like people really love this movie. Like they're making a series out of it.
Yeah,
and
they actually did.
Yeah, and they did already.
Yeah.
Okay, did you watch any of it?
No, I know that they put it on Shudder. It's available on Shudder.
That's
I haven't watched it though.
That's what I need to do is get on Shudder because I'm not on that. Okay, so I was looking online, and some of these, like top 10 recommended stuff, these lists always had a consistence of having Audition up on that list. Now you've seen Audition. What is your take on Audition? Why do you think that movie is so fascinating to everyone? And
it's funny because I remember watching a special feature, and the director Katashi Miike actually says that in Japan nobody has ever heard of that film. Okay. So even in its own country, it's never heard of. It's more popular in the West. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it's definitely earned its kind of notoriety. It starts off as one thing and ends completely in the opposite direction. Okay. I could probably think of a couple of scenes why it's stuck with people and why it's as big as it is. Mm-hmm. Shockingly though, I'm surprised that it's never been remade, because I feel like that's the type of film where it's ripe to be remade, because you could easily, for anyone who doesn't know what Audition's about, it's about a man who is looking for a wife, and a friend of his puts an audition together where him and the guy end up auditioning girls for the wife, but they also think that they're getting a movie part, and he ends up meeting this one girl and hitting it off, and they go on a couple of dates, and he never hears from her, and he starts to kind of question why, and then that's when the film kind of shifts over to her point of view, and you start to see why she hasn't been calling him back and kind of what's going on in her life.
Yeah. No, I still need to see Audition. I really want to, but I just hear that this movie is just amazing. And one day I will watch. I just have to sit down and just finally do it. I really enjoy Devil's Backbone. That is one of my favorite ghost stories ever, and that was a Spanish film.
Yeah, Guillermo del Toro.
Exactly, yeah. Did you ever watch this one? Okay. I really found that film fascinating only because while it had all the elements of horror, there was still such a dramatic storytelling involved. Yeah. It was a little bit of commentary, a little bit too, in that movie. And
I feel like that film reminds me of the line in Crimson Peak where she's like, "It's not a ghost story; it's a love story with a ghost in it."
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like that's the Devil's Backbone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed that one. Did you ever watch I Saw the Devil? Or yes. I Saw a Devil? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I Saw the Devil.
Okay, now what's that one?
That one's a revenge story. Yeah,
Okay.
a lot of Korean films, they don't really go. There'll be some ghost stories, but they tend to mostly lean towards revenge. That one is about a man who, oh my god, I even think it takes place on Christmas. A man's wife is coming home from work, and I think her car ends up breaking down, and she ends up asking help from a man while she's talking to her husband. And I think the man ends up attacking her, and the husband goes crazy. He's going insane because he can hear what's going on and what's happening to the wife. And she ends up getting murdered. And he, in his grief, he decides that he's going to go after the guy who did it. And I forgot how, but somehow he ends up finding out who is it way early in the film.
Okay.
And after that, starts plotting how he's going to kind of deal with this guy and get revenge for his wife.
Okay. Interesting. That is a movie that I had thought about watching too. It always comes up on these lists, and it just seems like a very interesting movie to see.
And I think that one, I had heard a while back that they're thinking of remaking that.
Mm-hmm. What about Goodnight Mommy? Have you seen this one?
Which one is that one?
So this is Austrian.
Oh.
So I didn't get to see it yet, but it got like huge buzz, and then it just phased out. But these two kids, I think they're twins, and their mom comes back from having surgery, but she's not who she says she is, or something like that. Did you ever?
I didn't see it, but I've heard about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do need to watch this film too. I was wondering if
I think the ending was spoiled for me.
Oh, really?
I think so.
That sucks. I hate when that happens.
Yeah.
Is there a movie out there that you mentioned Audition, like why hasn't that been remade yet?
Yeah.
Is there a foreign horror film that you would like to see a US version of?
A foreign horror film that I would like to see?
And not, I guess, in a way that you'll know it'd be successful. It's just that this movie is so good. I want to see a different version of this. Like
to kind of see it. Yeah. I don't know. Okay, I would, but just because I would love to see what the U.S. does with this.
Okay.
I would like to see a remake of Suicide Club.
Oh, okay.
Just to see how we translate that. But I was like, I think we could now with bullying. I feel like if you kind of bring in the bullying factor in social media, I think you could probably churn out an interesting Suicide Club remake.
Okay, very good.
I like to see the beginning of that movie done on the Metro.
Yeah. Would you count Hunger Games as a remake of Battle Royale? I don't, because I mean, obviously they're completely two different stories, but they literally have almost the same plot. So
yeah, I kind of feel like the author. I'm pretty sure she has Battle Royale in her film archives.
Well, we get lots of different versions of the same story. I mean, Belko Experiment is one of the latest versions of this. Everyone has to kill each other to stay alive type of deal. But I think that would be a very interesting remake, because of the number of people that they had.
Well,
I mean, and they were all teens, weren't they?
Well, I don't know if you remember this, but the CW was going to do a show.
Yes, you're correct. I do remember that.
They were going to do a show.
Well, I mean, the 100, no, I mean, that doesn't really fit because they weren't asked to kill each other, but like, it did involve kids, and it was because you guys are freaking bad. Like, you have no manners, and they're just like, let's just weed out the horde and get rid of all of them in this stylistic way. And
I think Battle Royale would make a better show than a movie because I read the book, and there are just that book is like thickness, like it's that chunky, and there are just dozens of stories and other characters that were skipped over for obvious purposes.
Yeah.
The film can only be so long. But I actually think the Battle Royale would make a good TV show.
So the only thing that I have a problem with a TV show is that the TV show is going to have a central character and focus, which will take some of the fear of them dying out of the equation.
Okay.
Now, if it was an anthology, or if they didn't care who lived or died, and they went like
Games of Thrones.
Yeah, and they just passed the torch and gave another set of characters or another group of friends trying to survive within the same series, have at it. But if you need to have one central star for us to gravitate to and root for, then I don't want it. I don't want it. So I mean, to me, that would be its only fault. But it's a long enough story to carry out as a series. I totally agree.
And in the book, there are actually different like groups of kids that you follow. Yeah. So so that, I mean, if they were to kind of adapt it exactly like that, where you follow different groups and kind of each group kind of had their central characters.
Yeah. So this is a little bit off horror topic. Do you know the anime? I think it's called Sword Art Online. Yeah, Sword Art Online. Can you make a TV show of that? I would love that.
Yes, because it kind of goes back to that my earlier thing where it has nothing to do with Japanese culture. It's a medieval-esque kind of like Dungeons and Dragons type of setting.
Now that show's not a horror show, but my God, I was terrified when they revealed that everybody couldn't leave. Yeah. That to me would scare the shit, and you're just forced to deal with it. Like you're locked in. Like that was so terrifying when I was watching that. I would love to finish that series, but
ironically, I'm rewatching it right now.
But all of these kids, they buy the latest VR game. And they all sign into it, but it's very intuitive. Like I can't remember if you had to insert something inside of your head or if it was just like a helmet.
It's a helmet.
It's a helmet. Over it, And once you're in there, there's this narrator, this game master who was like, "Okay, I've got you all here now. Here it is. You guys actually have to kill each other. The game is real. If you die in this game, you die in real life, and there's no unplugging." Like you have to finish the game, and that it was just the way when they showed all their reactions, and they were just terrified for their lives. I was just like enthralled by it.
How far are you into the series?
Oh, I only watched like maybe 3 episodes. I mean,
because it's interesting because the more you watch, the more they kind of deal with like different aspects. Like there are people who have kind of infused themselves into the game so much where they actually don't want to leave. And they actually prefer their lives in the game to the real world. And there are even people who like start murdering players for fun.
Yeah, I mean it's that sense of like the purge and all
because there's no guilt.
Yeah, there's these stories that bring out this human instinct. Yeah. Somebody who was once weak and through rules and structure you weren't able to really be sort of like I guess you're not yourself but just your tough self. And while other people didn't care about consequence, you did. And so in a world without consequence, you find out you're a lot stronger than you thought you were. And so I love that type of aspect of story. So that would be a good one.
And they are making that into a series. Netflix.
Are they?
Yeah, they're making that into a live action show or film. I'm not sure, but I know Netflix definitely is doing one.
I would love to see that. There is another movie that was a part of Horror Fest. I think it was Horror Fest 3. This is also South Korea. Did you ever hear about Voices?
Yeah. What Voices? Because there are 2 voices.
Okay. So, my version is 2007. And this movie involved people who were suddenly killing their loved ones.
Yeah, the family that starts killing their family members.
Yeah, so the whole gimmick was that you literally couldn't trust anyone in the film because those who are close to you are the ones who are suspected of killing you. And it happened very randomly because there is a voice in your head who I guess is feeding on emotion of either revenge, jealousy, any kind of hatred towards a loved one, and they would act on that as like, hey, do you want to get rid of them? And then it's this voice talking you into taking out the people who are closest to you. And the gore, the kills, just the story, and the fact that there was no central killer, that anybody could be a killer in this movie, just made it even more better. Yeah, it just made it even better because you had no idea what direction it was going to go. And they were actually really creative with their kills as well. I would love to see a U.S. remake of that. Not to say that they would do a very good job of it, but it's such an open-ended, I guess, piece that you could basically use your imagination to do a lot with. I mean, did you watch it?
Yeah, I remember the wedding scene.
Yes, I think that was one of the opening scenes. yeah, the woman just goes over the. Oh yeah, I mean it was just so good. But I mean, I just liked their pacing and the way that they carried out the story, and you figured out what was causing all of this happening, and I just thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, actually, one cool film that you should watch is called Bloody Reunion.
Okay,
and it's about the students who are going to their old teacher's house for a reunion. And it's the first time I've ever seen Korea do a slasher film.
Oh,
and
so this is Korea.
Yeah,
okay.
This is a Korean slasher, and they definitely are delving into the like 80s aesthetic where your killer wears like a bunny mask that's made like that paper mache type of bunny mask.
Yeah,
and
like Cabin Fever.
Yeah, and what I love is that this film kind of plays on that same idea where it's going one way, and then by the end of it, it goes in the complete direction, and you're like, what's going on? And what I love about Korean films is that the actors are phenomenal in these Korean films, and that even though it's like a horror film, they tend to bring a lot of emotion to their characters.
Yeah,
because you end up finding out that a lot of these students have like bad, like ill will toward their teacher because of what she did. There's like this one really sad story where a student said that he had gotten new sneakers when his mom had purchased new sneakers for him, and it was the day they were doing track and field, and he was on the hefty side, and his teacher said that he had to do 5 laps, and it was very hard for him.
Yeah, but
she made him do it anyway, and by the end of the day, his shoes were falling apart.
Oh man!
And he like went home in tears.
Ugh.
But yeah, it'll catch you off guard.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I have one final question for you. We're gonna see what the biggest offense that the U.S. has brought to us from our international horror. Now, I looked up a couple of lists, and I tried to kind of weigh in what most people thought was the worst ever. And
I already have one loaded.
Okay, well, it may be different than what I've got, but you can help me pick out of these two. Would you say that the U.S. version of The Wicker Man and One Missed Call?
One Missed Call.
One Missed Call.
Was that your choice? Yes, that was mine.
Now, I actually heard that the original wasn't that good either.
Really?
Like, they're both flops.
Oh no, I love the original.
Yeah, the original didn't really take that well with audience over there either, and so why they chose to make a US version we will never know, but
I think it was just an excuse to work with Boost Mobile.
So what So what was it about One Missed Call that you didn't like?
It was just a very like half-assed put together movie. The scares were so stupid. There was no thought into it. The characters themselves were just not well written. The deaths were even worse. How a person drowns in a pool that's like 2 feet deep, I don't know, but whatever. I mean, the only salvation for that movie was at least the jingle that the phone made was really good.
I'm sorry. Now, this movie is crap. I do agree. I didn't like it at all, but I'm telling you that ringtone was everything.
Yes.
I downloaded that on my phone. I had it for years.
Yep.
I love that ringtone.
I have that one and the Japanese one.
Yes, that ringtone is so cool. And I think that was, for me, the biggest appeal of watching this movie. Not to just hear the ringtone, but I mean, it's just such a creepy tone to hear, and especially if it's not your ringtone. I'm not trying to have that being played on my phone, but yeah, in the simple vein of the Ring, it was like you hear the call, you hear yourself die.
Yeah.
So this is what I didn't understand about One Missed Call is that were they predicting the future or were they picking a future for you as you were listening? Because it's like, it's not like death where they know you're going to die and they come and collect you. Mm-hmm. Did this movie just be like, okay, if you answer the phone, that means you're going to die, and you're going to die the way we choose to, and that's how you're listening to it. So did they really explain that? Do you remember?
They don't really explain it, because I even remember at one point the girl doesn't even answer her phone.
And she still gets attacked anyway.
and she still gets killed.
Jesus. But yeah, a lot of people hate Wicker Man for the life of them. I think that was that UK? I think that was UK.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just, those two are just horrible. I never saw the original Wicker Man. Did you?
No, have
not. Okay. But I heard, I mean, obviously it was good enough to be remade, so they must have done something right. But, yeah. Didn't care for either of those two movies at all. Any last recommendations? Anything you want to add? Something that we haven't brought up?
Recommendations? I would just like a quick run off. I would probably say, I already said Bloody Reunion. Yeah. Yeah, no, I can't think of anything.
Okay.
I'll probably be like, dang, I should have said that.
No, it's quite all right. Well, I want to thank you for your input and for bringing and highlighting some international horror movies that probably most people have not heard of before.
Oh, actually, I did think of one. Thought of two really cool Japanese films.
Okay.
One is 2LDK, which is...
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, they're actually going to do a remake of it with the blonde from Mean Girls.
Okay.
Rachel McAdams? Yeah, they're going to do a remake with her and another actress.
So where is this film from?
It's Japanese.
Okay.
It's about two actresses that are living together and are going for the same part, and they don't like each other. And the film actually starts off with inner monologues about how much they hate each other, even though when they speak, they're complimenting each other and being so nice.
Yeah.
But as the film takes place in one night, so as the night progresses, they just get meaner and meaner, and it ends up like just turning out into like a Quentin Tarantino, Uma Thurman, and Vivica A. Fox type battle where they're just beating the crap out of each other.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Did you ever watch Dogfight? I think that's what it's called.
Ooh, no.
Dogfight is Anne Heche and Sandra Oh, and those are two people who hate each other.
Really?
One of them gets into an accident, and while she's in a coma, the other steals her art identity.
Oh.
And then so when she wakes up and finds out this other woman became famous off of her art, like, they go at it. But there's like tons of like melee one-on-one like heavy fight scenes between the two of them.
Yeah.
I didn't watch this movie, but it sounds similar to what you were saying. Okay, what was the other one you mentioned?
The other one was Neighbor Number 13. This one is Japanese also.
I may have seen that. Is that the kid who had that split personality?
Yes. And every time
so they
would show
out.
him, he would they like switch actors.
That's a really good one. I remember that one. Yeah, this little timid kid, he worked on like a construction site or something. And then every time he hulked out and changed personalities, they had a different actor. Remind me who he was, because he was from Old Boy, right? Isn't that the same guy?
Yeah.
Okay, I forget his name.
Old Boy? Was he from Old Boy? I'm not sure. No, I don't think he was from Old Boy, because Old Boy is Korean.
That wasn't him?
No.
Okay,
and
hold on.
Neighbor Number 13 is Japanese.
Let me look this up, because the guy...
Also, Old Boy is pretty good. You should watch that.
Yeah, I
All
know,
of the revenge films. Yeah. Old Boy, Lady Vengeance, and then I forgot the name of the third one that's in that trilogy.
Yeah, I remember going to the theater to watch this, and I was super fascinated with this cover art, because it says, what if your personality began to crumble? Who would you become?
Yeah.
And I love the fact that when you saw his alter ego, you got to see the actor play him, even though the people in the movie, they're the same person. And they look totally different, and I just...
And they do some trippy like stuff when you're technically like inside of his mind, and they start like dancing around, and they start playing like this kind of like very rhythmic tribal music. Mm-hmm. You're like, what the heck is going on?
So Shiro Nakamura. Oh, he was in Death Note. Okay. I guess he wasn't in the other one. But yeah, that's a really good one. It's super old though. What was this? This was 2005.
Wow. Yeah. I bought that on DVD.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one. Yeah, that kid, poor kid. Yeah, he got picked on a lot.
And then the guy he ends up getting revenge on.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, dang.
And didn't he have like a sudden burst of strength or something? Like he just ended up being super, like stronger than he normally is because of his personality. I can't remember if
I
he just.
remember
I wouldn't
that.
say he had super strength,
Yeah.
but to me, it just seemed like his rage just gave him more like strength or something. But yeah, no, that's a good one. Thanks for the reminder of that. All right, so with every episode, we close out with a bitch really, and we always leave it to our guests to come up with one. So, did you happen to think of one? It could be from any film that we've discussed today. I'm sure somebody died in a really dumb, horrific way. I was trying to think of one for Miss Call, but I don't remember that movie to even replicate. But yeah, anyone that you can think of.
Bitch, really? I know, and I was thinking.
And they don't
one.
necessarily have to die either. They can just make a stupid mistake.
Well, the one I did think of was what was it called? Sinister.
Okay.
When the dad ends up going into the attic, and it's the creepiest thing ever, and that box just appears out of nowhere, and it's of these home films, and it's like how many horror movies do you have to see to know that you never play old ass films on a projector? And then especially they just have like these really even though they look simple, like Family Barbecue, and then even after he starts watching them, he continues and continues to watch the next one after the next one until he becomes an alcoholic in the end.
I don't know what my fascination would be if I started seeing images and ghosts appearing out of nowhere while I'm watching old films. Usually you would say to yourself that your habit's over.
Yeah.
It's time to give up the hobby and move on to something else. But yeah, I think he did get super addicted for absolutely no reason.
Especially after the lawnmower one.
I mean, yeah.
That was the one that made me jump.
He really chose to watch all of those for, yeah.
And, and then with that movie, I'm obsessed with the wife and him. And I was so engaged during when she called him out on that bullshit and they had that argument in the bedroom. I was like, give that girl an Oscar. Because damn.
Yeah.
I was you sleeping on the couch tonight.
All right. Well, Tino, thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate your help with this one. My knowledge of international horror is kind of low. I do find them fascinating, and I try and watch new ones, anytime that I get a chance to. But it's good to know that you were here to help me out with that.
Well, I have no idea what's gonna happen, but either way, Rob, as always, it's a pleasure. You're beautiful.
You are just gorgeous as shit.
Thank you. And I love all of you guys. And I haven't said this in a long time. I don't think either of us have, but like, comment, follow, subscribe. The thirst is real. Just give us what we need.
Go to iTunes, give us that comment and rating. This gives us more visibility on iTunes and to more people so they can be aware of this amazing show. And we really appreciate your feedback as well. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah. Hopefully you guys learned something. I'm sure I did. And we'll catch you next time on Bitch I Ain't Scared.